Hey boys and girls, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. Today we're following up with the Cheshire Firefighter Challenge team. Yo!
Hey mate! Yo! Hello.
Hello. Who have we got with us today? Ryan's in the house.
Just me and Ryan, I'm afraid. James is working and he's not going to be able to drop on. He's just let set us a message.
He's pregnant, bless him, I think.
It's about time that we set it off.
Let's have a quick catch up with our partners of the podcast. First up is a massive shout out to our partner William Wood Watches. Chances are you already know who William Wood Watches is, but if you haven't, you'll have seen them in GQ, The Times, Esquire, Forbes, The Telegraph, BBC, The Financial Times, Men's Health, upcycling firefighting equipment and utilising every single component that makes up the beautiful watches. They've won the Esquire Self-Made Entrepreneur of the Year. They were chosen by GQ Men's Health as the best men's watches to buy in 2020 and 2021. And they've donated over 50,000 to international firefighting charities. Now there's so many ways to go on and find out more about William Wood Watches. Head over to williamwoodwatches.com, check them out on their Instagram, check them out on their Facebook. They've got a private group if you are a member, if you have purchased one of their watches. So jump on over, take a look, whether it's the Triumph, the Valiant, the Bronze, the Chivalrous, and they've even got the Tunnel to Towers 911 watches. Honestly, if you are a fan of the emergency services, if you're looking for that gift for someone, whether it's a new recruit, whether it's retiree, get over to williamwoodwatches.com and take a look. I promise you will not regret it. Our second partner of the podcast for today's episode is the incredible Hikes. Hikes footwear is made in Europe and they are an innovative, high-tech, functional shoe manufacturer, and they meet the highest standards all over the world. They cater for the fire and rescue, the medical, workwear, police, military, forestry, streetwear, from our tactical frontline special forces operators to our firefighters' boots on the ground. Hikes are keeping us safe in every single way. As part of their partnership with the podcast, they are giving away a pair of Hikes boots every single month. So after the podcast, be sure to jump over to our social media feeds, have a look for that post, get yourself on there. We have given away 3 pairs so far. We are doing it every single month, so get over there, check it out. There is no funny details to be had, so jump on over, check it out. Hikes UK, a fantastic partner of the podcast. It's been such a monumentally difficult time in the last 18 months in terms of putting events on, in terms of keeping each other together, and for many people in terms of keeping on top of their personal fitness. Despite all of these challenges, we have had such an incredible resurgence of the Cheshire Fire Challenge this year. This year it was a fully virtual event. We've had teams from all over the world competing, and in today's episode I'm following up with 2 of the organisers, Mark and Ryan. We're going to hear who the runners and riders were, what were the challenges, how did it go, and what is in the future for the Cheshire Fire Challenge. This is in its essence a regional style competition which precedes the British Firefighter Challenge. October 8th, that weekend, is going to be the British Firefighter Challenge at Moreton on the Marsh, the Fire Service College here in the UK. You'll be able to see it all over social media. You'll be able to check out that competition as it rolls up. So let's close the loop on the Cheshire Fire Challenge. Let's see how that competition went, and let's look ahead to who's going to be rocking up at the British Firefighter Challenge, kicking ass and taking names. Thanks once again for coming back to the Firefighters Podcast. So without further ado, if you are sitting comfortably, let's all buckle up for safety, and I will see you crazy cats on the other side.
Hey up, pal. You alright?
How are we doing? Where are you?
Good. Mate, this is the building site I'm calling home for the foreseeable at the minute.
Renovation on the go. Man, I feel for you, brother. That's a hell of a project.
Sort of smallish extension and say smallish, medium-sized extension and what is single-story extension, and it kind of turned into this. You know, hard graft, mate, but it's good going. It's
I think there's less and less of that happening these days. It real shows a real sense of sort of discipline and long-term commitment to something, because it's bloody hard work, mate.
I mean, I started my first shovel in the ground was actually the 1st of April, and that wasn't an April Fool's. It was like, you know, I'll go for it. So yeah, we're doing all right. It's moving on. It's hard because you're living in it. I don't see the progress. Other people that come in and are a bit like, wow, you've done this, you've done that, and it's like, yeah, it just seems to be taking forever. You know what I mean? Maybe a little bit naive in the fact how long it actually does take.
Mate, it's tough. You've got to stay the course. It could be so demoralising doing stuff like that, because like you say, you just feel like you don't see any change. You know, not to get too personal, but a word to the wise. It's stuff like that can really damage a relationship if you don't just like stay the course and both be on board and give each other lots of room, you know, emotionally, and just acknowledge each other, and, you know, thank each other for doing all the bits and bobs when you've not got any time, and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my missus is really, really hands-on, to be fair to her. Like, you know, I've had her using breakers and all sorts while we've been doing it and stuff, but there is times where I think, go to work, will you? You know what I mean? She makes me laugh at the minute. She comes in like, I've been pulling my tripod all day, and she'll come in and go, I'm not cracking cracking the whip. But what have you done? Where you're up to? How's it going? Why has this not been done? Hang on a minute. You just said you weren't cracking the whip. So she's good, mate. She give her a juice. She comes home. She's like, right, what we're doing, where we're going. You know what I mean? So it's good.
It's good. Especially with everything else you load up on top of yourself, like Cheshire Fire Challenge and podcasting and life indeed. Yeah, I mean, welcome back to the podcast, both of you. I mean, Mark, Ryan, this year you guys have put on, and obviously with help of James and a massive community, we've had the Cheshire Fire Challenge. To my knowledge, just from watching through the social media, seeing the timetables, seeing all the leaderboards, I mean, has this been the biggest year that you've had yet? Is that what I'm right in saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, biggest year yet. So we last year, I think we got to 90. We limited ourselves to 100 competitors because otherwise it's impossible to manage. But this year we actually sold, I think, the 100th place during the competition, and we filled all 100. So yeah, first thing I'd like to say, well, thank you to everybody who's been involved and got involved and has become part of this little community that we've developed.
I mean, we spoke about community last time we were together, but we've said that, and I almost feel like it's been heightened this year because we've accidentally all sort of been going through this crazy pandemic, COVID craziness at the same time. This has really given people both a sense of community again, but also something to sort of drive towards. I mean, has that been your impression, Ryan, when you've been speaking with competitors and speaking with people that have been sort of putting themselves out there?
Yeah, because, you know, like you said and alluded to there, we're just starting to loosen them restrictions throughout COVID and that. So I'd probably say it's a little bit like a lease of life for people now, isn't it? To kind of say, oh, you know, we are okay to go and do these challenges. We are okay to communicate and to have that sense of community and what have you over the past 12 months especially.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, especially, we always say, don't we, within the fire service, we're a fire service family and what have you, and it's quite emotional in a sense to see that family come together for events like the challenge and stuff, and not just, you know, within the UK, to kind of to make contact with our brothers and sisters from across the pond and over the other side in New Zealand and what have you. It was just amazing, you know. So
you've had some far and wide. I mean, how many nations got involved this time, Mark? Because it was pretty much a global event this time, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think we were slightly down on the number of nations that got involved this year, but the actual uptake from those nations was amazing. So to get sort of 9 competitors from New Zealand who all got themselves organised, and I think one of the things that we've seen this year that we didn't see last year is that we saw people come together within their own little communities and put on the event themselves and have a couple of days out doing it, you know, a couple of attempts and running through it that way. But to get 9 people from New Zealand who made contact with us the year before and were gutted because they couldn't do it, and then came back this year and really smashed it, really, you know, put in some great times. It was great watching them, you know, and having conversations with people that we've never met before, but who are now friends, you know, not just challenge conversations about all sorts of stuff. Just about life, basically. It's been amazing. Yeah, really good.
That you're speaking to the choir, and that is, I feel there's so much the same with the podcast. When you make these little connections, I always think, it was like a book or a film I saw once when they speak about the seven points of connection. Have you ever heard that? Where between, if you jump through 7 people, you'll be able to connect with everybody globally. You know, I think there was a film that was based upon it, and when you start connecting these little sort of webs, if you know what I mean, like spider's web across the globe, all of a sudden people just come out of the woodwork, and there's some absolutely, and I don't say that as in we should be surprised, there's some absolutely incredible people working in the emergency services all over the world, and distance really isn't what you think it is when you're connecting on something like this. It really is. They might as well be, you know, 1 mile down the road. It's like the, you know, on the same watch.
It is. Oh, it's been great, and that, like I say, that watch ethos runs through the service wherever they are, and we have the same jokes, and I think the thing that we've sort of benefited from this year, because we've run it. This is the second year that we've run it, kind of by accident again, but we can talk about that later. But it's the fact that we've been in a position to make sure that it's been fair as well, and to say to people that, okay, that doesn't look quite right, can you just have a look at it? And nobody's taken offence. Yeah. Nobody's taken offence. Nobody's complained. Nobody's had anything bad to say about the event, that's cracking in itself. Yeah. And the whole thing, realistically, was great. And realistically, we didn't expect to run a virtual event this year.
No.
But, yeah.
I think you make a couple of great points there. Firstly, what you said about people turning it into sort of days out. I was looking at some of the videos that had come from places all over and they were literally like, some were done at fire stations, but some of them had actually like taken the pumps to like a parking lot or like a shopping centre, hadn't they? And they'd set up and then invited different stations. And it really was a little bit like, if you think right back to the origins of some of the British Fire Challenges and stuff like that, they've like been setting up their own mini versions of them, really, hadn't they?
Yeah, I think a lot of the footage that came from New Zealand, the Davenport lads, that I couldn't really make it out, but it looked like it was on a quayside somewhere next to a port. I'm sure I could see ships in the background, and obviously the Sean from over in the States. I think that's obviously been done on an airfield somewhere in America.
I don't know if it just looks cooler because it's American. Sometimes I feel like I'm sure they look at us in the same way, and they're like, "Oh man, look at the British countryside and all that sort of stuff," and we're like, "They've just got airfields everywhere. You try and get access to an airfield here; it's bloody difficult."
I suppose it helps that he works on one.
Yeah. Now, we saw some really, 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 really fast times this year. And I wanted to make as well another point that you were saying there about, I want to say how stringent is the right word? I don't know. But, you'd really policed it really well, which adds a layer of credibility to it. I think something that can be really disengaging sometimes for people is when they look at stuff and they go, oh, well, that's not really fair and it's not really, no one's really policing it, so what's the point? And it kind of disengages people. But this year you really had got a lot tighter. What were some of the misconceptions, or what were some of the accidental sort of variations you were seeing? Because you're dealing with people, like say, in countries all over the world. Was there any significant or obvious things, Ryan, that people were getting wrong or that they were tripping up in terms, if people are thinking about doing it next year?
No, in all fairness, I think last year was a massive learning point for us, in the sense of the way we ran it last year. It was a learning point for us and also competitors and stuff. So we, early on, before we sort of initiated the event, we kind of ironed out all them little creases and things like that. So, and all them little adaptations. So things like with the Germans, obviously they don't have lugs on the hoses like we do. So Mark had a couple of questions and, could they use a bar and things like that to sort of get the motion of the unrolling of the hose and stuff. So, we had them discussions beforehand this year, because we did iron out a lot of them creases in terms of, how long the event is going to run for, just to keep the motion and things like that. I think this year it went really, really well, in the sense that it just really streamlined. I mean, I've got to give it to Mark, to be fair. I'm not sitting here taking all the credit because, I've got a lot on myself. So I kind of took a bit of a backward step, and I was doing like most of the behind the scenes stuff, whereas Mark was like at the forefront of it and whatever. So a lot of it is down to him, to be fair. Not making his head go any bigger, like, but yeah.
So it's my belly that's bigger.
Is your belly? As you head into retirement, it seems to be that one growing. No. So who do we see at the top of some of the leaderboards this year, Mark? Because there was some really, really fast times. I mean, when we're talking about...
Yeah, I think people to look out for at the British Challenge are going to be the lads from Northamptonshire, obviously. They finished really well.
Sharp, really sharp.
Yeah, Dean and Aaron. Leicestershire, where John Gregory's over at. There was a particularly quick female there as well, which. But that's when you talk about some of the things that we spotted that weren't quite right this year. I mean, sometimes it's like the dummies, that type of stuff, and sometimes on the videos we can kind of see that they're not quite right. Some of them are heavier than we asked for, okay. And we have and we have conversations with those people and look at like a percentage reduction in distance and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Just to keep it level. But on one occasion, there was definitely a dummy there that wasn't quite heavy enough that we saw. But a conversation with the people involved, and they reran the course and they smashed it. It was great, and it turned out to be the fastest female time, even with the heavier dummy, which is great. And I would say no fallouts, nothing like that. Just, and it's the way you ask people, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you just check? Can you just weigh? And I think another one is, we all want to win something. We all want to be good at it. And people will always look at that little bit of an angle. Can I get an angle here? Is there something I can do that's a little bit different? So a couple of occasions we went back to people to get them to move where they'd placed the barrels, because they were saving themselves up to 30 metres in running.
Wow. Just
depending on where they put the barrels in relation to the course. Yeah. So that kind of thing. And it's just keeping your eye on it, basically. And, because we don't want to put anybody off. We want to keep people involved and make it fair for everybody, whether you're going to run it in 2.5 minutes or whether you're going to run it in 12 minutes. It's got to be fair for everybody.
I think that's the important factor, isn't it? That everybody that takes part in the event doesn't want to cheat and doesn't want to cut corners and what have you. I mean, I ran it this year. Obviously, me and Mark are retained at Birchwood or on call. So we ran a couple of days there. We did one at our own training centre down in Winsford. And then I've set up the course on with my watch at Lynn Fire Station as well. And funnily enough, I set the course up and what have you. And it was actually my station manager that ran it. And he come out and he was like, "Oh, you sure that distance is right for the dummy and what have you?" And I was like, "Well, yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have slightly shorter legs than some people. Yeah, you know, a little bit vertically challenged in that." And sure enough, we measured it out again, and it was actually 2 meters shorter. So obviously, we moved it back, and like kicking himself because he was like, "Oh, you know, I wish I'd have kept my mouth shut." Like, but that sort of looking at it and just sort of making sure that it is right. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're all competitive with each other. We all want to get the best time. But it's about making it fair, isn't it? And like you said, those that when we police it, and if we don't make it fair, then we kind of lose that momentum with people. We kind of lose that engagement as well. So,
and you never get that back. That's the thing. You really have to hold yourself to that higher standard. So, for people that haven't heard about, perhaps haven't heard you guys on the first episode, what sort of equipment did the people actually need? Because, like you say, some of them, it wasn't a case of needing a big tower or anything like that. What's the complement of kit that they needed?
They need a space that's essentially 50 meters in length. Because we do it, it starts with a 200. Because we can't get a tower, we can't get everybody to find a tower. So it's a 200 meter shuttle run, 50 meters, 200 meters, and then 50 meters 4 times. And that was one of the changes we made this year, because last year we had people running the 200 meters in either a straight line or a loop, which made it a lot quicker. And we saw that change the speeds this year, the times, it leveled it up a lot. They'll need access to a hose reel on a drum, or equivalent, like we say, the Germans, they use a length of charge lay flat hose, but of a narrower diameter. I think it's about 40 mil, something like that. Okay. And they use that instead. 2 lengths of 70 mil delivery connected together and flaked for doing the hose run. A length of 70 for running out and rolling up, and 4 25 kilo barrels, basically, drums. For the drum carry, and the 70 kilo dummy. It's
70,
but yeah. So, but essentially, they're all items that you would have on your station. So the drums, they're foam drums off your appliance, so you should be able to get hold of them. I mean, I think the ones that we use are the AdBlue that we use for the machine. Once they're empty, we'll just keep hold of them and we use them that way. Hose you've got on your fire engine, hose reel you've got on your fire engine, and a bit of space. So it's accessible to everybody. Realistically, and we open dialogue with people from other countries in relation to, because I think you might have noticed that the New Zealand hose reel seemed a little bit thicker than ours.
Yeah, well, yeah. When you were saying 40 mil there, I was looking at that because it did seem. I thought it was bigger than that. To be fair, it looked significantly larger. But obviously, they were happy to do with that. That's what they've got.
Yeah, and that was fine. They did it, but again, they use I think they used the Rescue Randy, which is 80 kilos. So we looked at it overall, and I think we dropped. When you look at it as a percentage in weight, I think it saved them. I think we gave them about 4 meters. I think it was on the drag.
Okay.
So we reduced it by the percentage that they were over on the weight, and we did it that way.
No, so as long as you can demonstrate the logic behind it, and I think most people will appreciate that. From your perspective, what were some of the biggest challenges, and did you ever consider not running it this year because it was completely virtual? Yeah,
well, like I said, we were looking at doing a physical event, but then with the lockdowns and the pushbacks, and then it looked like we were going to end up clashing with the British Challenge and all that stuff going on. We weren't actually going to do anything. But then we started getting contacted by people who'd run it last year. Are we doing it? Are we doing this? When's it going to be? And it was kind of like, it wasn't like, are you doing it? It was like, when's it going to be? Because we want it. Let's have it. So, and we all had a lot on. So we just said, you know what? Let's go for it. And we just went for it again. And I suppose what's happened realistically, because we have run a physical event, which was going to be sort of the regional, and and that fits in with the dream for British Firefighter Challenge and having those regional competitions. But I suppose we've cut ourselves out a little bit of a niche in the virtual market, in that it's a gap filler before the national event, and the fact that we're getting this little community from all over the world is also brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, which you wouldn't get with a physical event. So it's just something different.
Yeah, and I hear that, and it speaks volumes in the terms of the podcast as well, because there's aspects of people that really want to be involved in some of the incredible things that you guys are doing and that various people are doing, not only in the UK but across the pond, and it's challenging for them to do it. You know, they can't logistically get there, or it's just the dates or the times or whatever. But this is a really great way, I suppose, when we look into future competitions, if you choose to run either a virtual one alongside it or instead of, it gives people that sort of data point of how the rest of the world is performing. They're able to see the other athletes. They're able to get that heads up and get a sneak preview on how everybody's performing. Because, you know, like you said, some of the ones that led out this time, Caitlin and Aaron and all these sort of stuff, they have really set the bar quite high, because I think all of them are heading into British Firefighter Challenge this year as well.
Absolutely. Challenge-wise, I think the biggest challenge this year is because we've all got a lot on. Like obviously, Ryan sat in his building site there doing his bits and pieces. You know, we both got 2 roles within the fire service. You know, I'm station manager, so I'm doing that role and the on-call role, plus trying to run the challenge. So, yeah, I think time is the challenge, and we condensed it as well this year. So we ran it over 2 weeks as opposed to a month. So that was hard. And James, bless him, he's not here, but you know, we talk about people who really pulled the weight this year. James, everything that you've seen on social media has been edited by James.
Yeah.
You know, so we really got to sort of applaud him, really. And he's an on-call firefighter at our on-call station, and he's got a job as well and a young family, and you know, and he's literally been a superstar through all of this. And he's made, and this is the thing about the virtual challenge, he's made everybody look great, because everybody gets, you know, up to a minute of footage, and it's the best bits. Yeah. It's the dragging the hose, looking good, running, you know, and whether you did it in 2 minutes or whether you did it in 12, when it's on social media, everybody looks like they were really performing.
Yeah. And they were, you know, it was their version of 100%, and that's exactly what it's about. It's about people showing up and delivering the best version of themselves. And it also added a great aspect of consistency. You know, it showed how everybody was competing on the same level. And yeah, he's an absolute beast, that guy. He's done a great job.
Yeah, he did really well.
Sorry, just to put it into perspective in terms of, like, you know, the work that actually goes into running these events. We've done the virtual and stuff like that, but over the course of 2 weeks, you know, that's 200 videos that poor James has had to edit and what have you. So, you know, that's a hell of a lot of videos to make people look good as well. Just to put that in perspective in terms of the work that actually goes into running these events.
If anybody's ever had a go at something like that, try taking 12 minutes, 6 minutes, 2 minutes and cutting it down into something that you can share in 59 seconds and get the best parts of it. It can become very, very time consuming very, very fast. But what I wanted to ask is, what does the competition look like moving forward? Because like you said, it's been a massive, massive commitment. I mean, Mark, you're coming up to retirement soon. How's the team going to look like looking forward? And is there any sort of prospects for expanding the team? And you know, there's a lot of people want to get involved in these things to compete, but it's hard sometimes to see people raising their hands to get involved in the organising.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be finishing in November, but I won't be taking a step back from this, I don't think, because my plan is to come back. But we can talk about that at a later date. But yeah, the team at the moment. So obviously, there's myself and Ryan. We've got James, who's like fully as mad as we are. And then we've got others who are helping us out now and who are getting involved and kind of seeing the benefit of it. So going forward, hopefully there should be about 4 or 5 of us. Reference a physical event, hopefully we'll be able to going forward. But if we can't, then we'll run it as a virtual, and we'll cut ourselves out a little niche there. Fully supported by the lads from the British Firefighter Challenge. Absolutely. Because it feeds into what they're doing, and it's that dream, isn't it? Increasing firefighter fitness.
Yes.
So it sits together pretty well, and you know we'll look at it that way. And I don't know whether we'd run 2 events. I don't know whether I've got the capacity for that, but we'll see. We'll see. And plus we've started to get buy-in from our service as well. So. Because myself and Ryan are quite persistent, and we will mither people. You know, over the last 3 years, we've dragged them and said, you know, this is what we want to do. And it's growing legs. And this year they've been really behind us. They've done some real good press stuff for us and that kind of stuff. And we've got good support off some of our senior manager. And if you've watched the videos back, you'll have seen from Cheshire. it was area managers, group managers, station managers. They were really putting it out there.
Yeah.
I would say that the percentage, it was a higher percentage with senior managers that were running it.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to engage with the firefighters and to get them on board and to have them run it themselves. But when you've got it at the top, leading by example, then we should be on to something that we can sustain.
That's the big aspect of it, because otherwise it becomes a flash in the pan. When you get into the follow up, the second album is always the difficult one. Everyone can smash it out the park once, but then having that willingness and consistency whilst everything else is going on in life to keep pushing forwards. And also, not everyone's a fan of this sort of stuff. Some people, there can be some strong critics out there. Sometimes it's through various insecurities, or sometimes it's just not their kind of thing. And having the perseverance to push through, like you said, for that larger goal of wanting to, better the health and well-being of firefighters and create that closer community. It's such an important thing, and people have got to keep pushing forwards. So
absolutely.
In the next few weeks, we've got the BFC. Is the Cheshire team attending? Will you guys be competing? What's going to be your roles there?
We'll be there to meet all the people that we've been virtually challenging with as well. So I'm expecting to get particularly drunk at least one night. Based on all the drinks that have been offered. So yeah.
You shouldn't need to buy anything the whole weekend.
That's it. I'm kind of hoping that we'll get 4 of us there.
Yeah.
So we'll have enough to do our individual events, and plus hopefully we'll get a team in as well, which would be nice.
That'd be absolutely incredible. Ryan, you heading in? You competing this year?
Yes, mate. So me and Mark will be there for definite, and like I said, hopefully the other two will be able to tag along with us, and it'd just be nice to see people. Like you said, running the virtual events, it has, like Mark said, created our own little niche and what have you, but I don't think you can ever take away from actually physical contact with people, can you? You know what I mean? I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest with you. And obviously seeing you boys again, as opposed to over a phone screen or a computer screen or something like that, to actually physically see us and have a pint and that, and like you said, and see them people across the world that actually come together for that one-day event. Well, one-day event, the weekend event.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. Really looking forward to it. And obviously, like Mark said, we'll be there and supporting you boys as you support us. The events like that just give a real good vibe, don't they? Everyone's there to encourage and support everyone, and it sounds a little bit cliche, but that's the whole point of it, isn't it? So it's a really good event, mate.
I think this year, I'm kind of expecting this year's British Firefighter Challenge event to be. It's got a bit of a festival feel about it, hasn't it? Because it's going to be at the college, so it's going to be kind of. It's not behind closed doors because people can come and watch it, but it's going to have that festival feel. It's going to be people catching up with each other that haven't seen each other for such a long time, competing, and that camaraderie, that support that you. First time that I competed, I couldn't believe how supportive everybody was of everybody else, and it's amazing. So just to get involved with something like that, I mean, we'll come down and we'll do whatever we're asked to do by Chris and John. Whatever they want us to do, we'll do. Because we'll come down and we'll volunteer and we'll get on with it with all the other volunteers who were excellent, by the way, whenever we have these events.
Man,
so
it really is gonna set itself up really well this year. I think as long as the weather's on our side, but you can never quite plan for it. It really is. When you go to these events, the serial optimists that sort of sometimes feel a little bit lonely, they feel like the ones that are left out in their services or on their watches. When you get all of those together as a collective, that is such a powerful mix, and I think it's going to be compounded by the fact that people have missed out on last year, and people have been separated for so long. And also, like you say, it's being held at the actual fire service college as well. It's going to have such an incredible backdrop to it. There's going to be, I think, more space than ever. We're not going to have to try and manipulate ourselves into a space in a high street or something like that. Whilst the events have been fantastic in the past, this is going to be incredible. And obviously, I'm going to be there helping, supporting, hosting, just pouring energy into every single, and the acknowledgement aspect of it. I can't wait to get the details of all the competitors, going to be shouting them out, screaming them out, getting involved with the families, pulling people out the crowd, and asking why is it so important for them to be there, how hard people have trained, how important this is to them, and man, I'm just so excited about it. It's going to be an absolutely incredible event. People have got to tune in, they've got to go and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Members of the public as well, because I believe that they're opening the gates up so people can come in and it'd be a great day. If you've got any sort of affinity or to the fire service, or you want to see what modern firefighting is all about, get yourself down there and have a watch, because you'd be amazed. You're amazed to see how some of these people perform, and give a bit of confidence that if your house is on fire, this is the kind of level that we're working at nowadays. So
you know what though, it's also the sort of thing that when I go to those events, I'm never worried. I always leave my car open. I never worry about where my bag is or anything like that. Honestly, because and I'm not saying anything bad about any other events, but it's the type of place that if you want to see the very best versions of people in our communities, and there's wonderful people in the communities that do all sorts of jobs, but this sector kind of attracts people with incredible values. If you've got young children and you want them to look at things they might want to do in the future and aspire to something in the emergency services, get them to come along. There's always a fire engine or something knocking about. There's always so many people and sponsors and partners to get involved with.
The BFC this year, it's held at the UK's biggest playground for firefighters, isn't it? You know what I mean? So start from the off. If it's not going to be a good event, then we're all at a loss, really, aren't we? To be fair, we may as well all give up.
I think there'll be a number of international competitors as well who've perhaps never been to the Fire Service College. There's some amazing facilities in America or something like that, but we're really blessed that there's been some big investments in Morton over the past couple of decades, and hopefully long shall it continue. The prizes. You actually did prizes this year.
Yeah, well, we did. Well, we did prizes last year, but they were the prizes that we'd already had made for the physical event.
Okay.
So that's why, essentially, last year we ran it because we had prizes, and it's like, well, what are we going to do with these? We need to use them, so we ran an event. Whereas this year, the prizes were bespoke for the event with the crest. Oak plaques, basically, solid oak plaques that have gone out. They've been sent all over the world, essentially, to the winners. In fact, Sean's, I've just been tracking it this morning. It's in Chicago now, so we should have it within a couple of days, hopefully. But yeah, and they look lovely as well. They're really nice. So
how surreal is that? If you think that's going to be on somebody's mantelpiece in Chicago and it says Cheshire on it, do you know what I mean? The people will be looking at it going, where the hell is this Cheshire Fire Challenge? And that really says a lot about this community.
Yeah, a beautiful piece of English oak sat on a American mantelpiece somewhere. It's we've arrived, haven't we? Let's be honest.
We've
arrived. Yeah,
you're welcome. Here we are.
I mean, there's one particular person who I think it's worth mentioning, which is Reeb from Germany, who was she did the first challenge with her husband, Helg, and we rely on them massively for their German connections. And they, between them, ran 2 events. I think the first event had about 12 competitors and the second event had 15 competitors. And they just put them on. They found locations. They got all the kit there. They did the marshalling and whatnot. We sent them some of our T-shirts over so that it was all, the Cheshire Fire Challenge support team, and they had them on. And I believe I saw that T-shirt on display at an event in Poland last weekend as well. So it's getting out there, the name's getting out there, but the Sonnenbergs, they are excellent in Germany. They are like the German arm of the Cheshire Firefighter Challenge, if you like. They help us out with the language barriers, logistics, that kind of stuff. Really good. So big thank you to them. But just a massive thank you. Sorry, Ryan. Massive thank you to everybody who got involved, because the reason for doing it is raising money for the Firefighters charity. We raised over £1,200 for the charity. Everything from the event went to the charity. It's as simple as that. The patches were paid for by a sponsor. The trophies were paid for by the service through the UPG budgets. So every penny that anybody paid us for either a T-shirt or entry has gone to the charity.
I mean, throughout this podcast, we spoke about the challenges for us going forward, and obviously the challenges for the BFC as well, and the challenges for the team, essential. So, Mark's kind of alluded there to Reeb and how fantastic she's kind of been. So we're open to anybody joining our team, as you guys are with the BFC, because the amount of work that goes into running these events, it's me and Mark started it, as we like to say, 2 men in a van. We just kind of sprung it up and we're like, yeah, sorry, we'll do this. And then before you know it, it's like, wow, this is what we've created, and the more people we get on board, then, Jesus, the possibilities are endless, aren't they?
They really are.
So, one of the T-shirts that we sent Reeb, as Mark said, was the Cheshire Fire Challenge support team, and because she's our connection over in Germany and that. So she is basically part of our sort of leadership team, if you like,
Press ganged into it.
That's it. The challenge is going forward for us next year. I'd love to run the physical event again, But again, I think one of the biggest challenges for us is, because James has made everybody look so good over the virtual challenge and what is actually getting people to run in the physical challenge, because you can kind of entice people into doing the virtual and saying, all your little mishaps, your trips and your falls and stuff like that, we can edit out and make you look really super. And it's, you know, on a physical event, people fall over, you can't edit that one out, can you? You can't rewind that one. It's showing people that, you know, if you do fall or you do take a trip or you don't quite make the hose up right or just little things like that, that people aren't there to put you down. You know what I mean? It's not a case of like, oh my God, you fell over, or oh, you've not quite got that hose in the box or whatever. It's not about that. It's the encouragement that people show. And I think for us, that's going to be our biggest hurdle next year, that if we do run the physical event over the virtual, is kind of encouraging people to say and getting them involved and saying, listen, you know, your little mishaps and that, it's not about pointing you out and beating you down. It's about picking people up and putting you on that pedestal, because you're getting on that big stage there in front of everybody, you know, and everybody understands that, and everybody's behind you for all your little mishaps that might happen or might not happen. I might be eating my own words next year, and I might be like, you know, oh, I don't know what the fuss was all about, and we might have loads of people getting involved in the
100%, because I know we're going to be promoting it on the British Firefighter Challenge as well, and as the communities continue to push each other along, and you know, my support is always with you guys. I think it's incredible what you do. It's not easy to do. It's not all the glitz and the glamour. It's not like the videos look. You know, there's a lot of late nights sat there living off coffee, trying to get the emails out, trying to, you know, the badges that didn't get printed right and the t-shirts that were delayed, and then, you know, somebody spells somebody's name wrong on a leadership board or anything like that, and they get the time wrong and all that sort of stuff. It's not easy, but I think we live in such a unique community that, you know, we know everybody's going out there with the best of intentions. We want to support each other, want to make each other look as good as we can, and I think it's incredible what you're doing, fellas. I really, really appreciate you. I really think it was a great event this year. I thank you for coming back on and sharing the story of it, and I can't wait to catch up in person with you guys at the British.
Thanks for having us back.
Thanks, fellas. Send my love to the family, and I'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Pete. See you later. Take care.
There you have it, boys and girls. That is the wrapping up of Cheshire Fire Challenge 2021. We are handing the torch over to the British Firefighter Challenge boys and girls, who will be showing up, rocking out, kicking ass, taking names Friday the 8th, 9th and 10th of October. At the time of releasing today, the official weather from the official weather people at the weather place is saying we are looking at 17 and 18 degrees, clear skies, no showers. So no excuses. Don't let some of the past weather dampen your spirits as we head into British Firefighter Challenge 2021. This is the long anticipated return. The Cheshire Fire Challenge team are going to be there. I'm going to be there. Athletes are going to be there. The sponsors are going to be there. William Wood Watches is going to be there. Are you going to be there? And if not, you can still do your bit. Like it, share it, post it, tag it. Help us get the word out there. Help acknowledge the great boys and girls of the front line, encouraging and champion firefighter fitness all over the world. It's time for our great British fire service to stand up once again and be recognised and share in this massive international effort. So all that's left to say is thanks once again for coming back to the Firefighters Podcast. Look after yourself, look after each other, support your local emergency services, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon right here on the Firefighters Podcast.